UTM Floating Liquefied Natural Gas Limited is looking to raise Nigeria's gas infrastructure, expand the local consumption market, and ensure cheap and affordable tanks to Nigerians. This was according to Julius Rone, the Group Managing Director of the UTM FLNG, the company that is building Nigeria's first floating facility in partnership with the NNPC and other investors. Speaking in a one-on-one interview with Boston Omofayo of Arise News in Cape Town, South Africa on Wednesday, the UTM Group CEO outlines further details of this unique gas project in Africa's largest economy.
First and foremost, I believe UTM is developing the first floating LNG in Nigeria, and this is the first indigenous company out of Africa that is taking up this kind of project. Like you're aware, a floating LNG is a technology that has been proven and is currently in operation in Africa. We have a couple of 2 or 3 floating LNG in Africa, but most of them is owned by international companies. So this is the first time an indigenous company out of Africa and the first indigenous company to develop a floating LNG, which is a big event. Yesterday, you can see we were nominated among the categories of company that are monetizing the offshore gas for award. So that tells you that Africa indigenous firms are grow in terms of maturity in taking up challenges how to develop our gas-given resources, most especially the gas. Floating LNG is a technology that meets the gas at its location. The good thing about it is that it cuts out away the pipeline, it cuts out community issues, and it meets the remote gas that are stranded. That is the essence of the technology. Gas that is difficult to pipe down to shore to do a land LNG. So with the floating LNG, you take it there, you liquefy the gas, you export, and then you take out what you need to support domestic requirement. On this UTM FLNG project, we are developing a 1.7 MMPTA capacity. We're going to export the LNG. We're going to use the LPG for domestic requirement. That is about 300 and something thousand metric ton per annum. You know, recently we visited Mr. President, and then Mr. President, I went there, led the delegation with our investors to him, and he fully gave a full support to this project. As you are aware, Nigeria required over 1.2 million tons of LPG. Nigeria LNG is doing about 50% of that capacity. So there's a huge gap that is being imported into the country. So once this project comes on stream, 300,000 tons of LPG we use to support domestic market, and which also we create a huge employment capacity for teeming youth of Nigeria. We're looking at over 7,000 people to be employed during the value chain of this project. We're going to create LPG plants across the state as part of the fallout of this project. So we're not just building a floating LNG, we're covering the full value chain. We're going to have a cylinder rebottling plant to ensure that once we bring in the propane and butane into country, we blend it together to have an LPG, and then we bottle it and do an LPG penetration to take it down to the last mile. That is the strategy of this project. The good thing is that the project has been de-risked. We've gotten an NPC full support. We've gotten the international investors that have lined up to fund this project. Recently, we signed in Afrexim Bank a $5 billion funding of a couple of floating LNG that UTM is going to develop. And they're starting with the first one. So funding is not an issue anymore because, like you're aware, gas, the requirement for gas is huge. And what we've designed on this project is that we're not only monetizing this gas to export, we're looking at in-country requirement, like you asked. The benefit of this project to the ordinary Nigerians is huge, because once you take out a 1/4 of the demand that normally you import into this country, you cut out the forex issue, you reduce a lot of demand on pressure on government to raise forex to import LPG into the country, and what that does is that it reduces the price drastically, because you have to hedge. Because you are selling in Naira, you need to hedge for dollar to bring in LPG into the country. So with this bringing you 1/4 of what your demand is, it would definitely bring the price of LPG down. And because the strategy is, there's a huge market, there's huge demand in Nigeria. The federal government of Nigeria is doing so much to move the focus from fuel to LPG and CNG. So this project will support that initiative of the government, whereby we'll be able to have energy penetration by having over 300 metric tons of LPG coming from one just project. And if a couple of these projects comes up, in a few years, Nigeria will be energy dependent. We will not need to import LPG into the country. So we see this as the first step, unlocking an energy penetration, and also, most importantly, the environment that is being degraded due to these different sources of energy by the women folks going in to fetching firewood as a means of energy. With this, if we continue with the strategy which we have to ensure that we have this LNG bottled up in the small cylinders to ensure it gets to the last mile of the community. By so doing, they have a cleaner energy. It saves them from environmental issue. It saves their health. So the common man of Nigeria will benefit from this project at the end of the day.